Hey, here's a Master Fans. Today we're looking at a CRT TV. This is a Sony Trinitron. Pulled this one out of a recycler. It's not in the greatest shape. It's got a little scuffs and a little bit of mash on some of the plastic, and it's dirty. But this one here is a KV-20FS100, made back in January of 2004, it looks like. Got a decent range of inputs here. Unfortunately, we're going to have to get a new power cord figured out for it, but that's not a huge deal. And of course, we've got your usual spiders and other creepy crawlies that might have gotten in there. Now, picking this up, I heard something rattling around. I think the plastic foot that is part of this black plastic backing is broken off inside. So fortunately, I don't think it's anything critical. Unfortunately, it does rattle around, so you should probably get it out of there. But the goal here is to get this fired up, so let's take a look. Okay, with just a few screws, we're able to get the bezel off. It's pretty dirty on the inside, so we'll have to get this cleaned out here. The good news is the whole foot is what was rattling around inside. We have enough of it here. I think I can epoxy this back into place. And that should be pretty strong, or at least strong enough to hold this in good shape and give it back its balance. Let's take a look at the CRT and the backboard. All right, so taking a look at everything, we're looking really nice inside. You can see this definitely probably sat outside and got a little moisture on it, but I don't see any actual damage. Speakers look to be in good shape. The board is dusty and probably could use a nice blowing out with some air. Everything on the yoke and the accelerator here looks good. I don't see that there's any modifications or anything done to it here. I'm just taking a quick look in at these capacitors here. I don't see anything significantly concerning, so that's good. Focus and everything looks to be in the same as factory settings, so I think we're good there. I'm not going to worry too much about changing up any settings or testing it yet, because the first thing we'll have to tackle, of course, is our fancy schmancy power cord here. And being that it was just clipped off, I don't know who needed that like 70 cents worth of copper at the junkyard, but I suppose they got it. We've got the plug in there. I mean, I could pull the whole board out and probably get a drop-in plug, but I think it'd be just as easy to solder on and splice in a cable, and I think we have enough material here. We could probably just do that with what's left. So I think we're going to strip that and find another cable to splice in. Looks like all the electrolytics in here are in good shape. I don't see anything bulging, which, to be honest, on a CRT of this age, I wouldn't really expect necessarily. The good news is I don't see any rust or corrosion, so for however long this was in the junkyard or somebody's basement, it didn't see too much exposure. So I think we've got what should be a very good working rig as soon as we get it all cleaned up, back together, and powered up. Okay, now that we've given the outer bezel a bath, let's go ahead and use our favorite toy and blow the dust out of the CRT. Okay, so now that we've given it a pretty good once over, I will try and wipe out the inside of the bezel a little bit. But notice over here, we've got a little crack in this front bezel, which honestly, I think I'm going to leave it as is. All things considered, you know, it's not perfect. It's not going to be a showcase piece. We're just going to get it cleaned up. Part of that front bezel is missing altogether anyway. The biggest thing is everything in here looks really clean. I'm really hopeful that this is just going to fire right up and be good to go. So we'll get a little bit of a rub down on this last piece of the plastic, clean up some of these contacts a bit, and go ahead and splice our cable in. All right, so we've got everything stripped down here, so we're just going to apply a little solder to each end of these leads, join them, and then hopefully we can heat shrink it into place for a semi-decent look, and we'll have this power cord repaired. Alright, so as you can see, I soldered this together. My heat shrink didn't quite fit because of the way I had to do it. And I put some electrical tape over it, and then I didn't really feel like it was sitting quite well in my head, so I thought, why not hook up a couple of probes and just see, you know, if we're getting any type of crosstalk interference here. Now, the probes are awfully close, so I'm just going to back them off here and just hold them in a little bit better spot. And let's just test on the multimeter and see if we get any feedback. Alright, so the probes are in a little bit better spot. You can see they're clearly not touching. And in continuity mode, 501. I'm reasonably certain it's not supposed to read anything with no current running through it. So I'm going to venture a guess that this little repair, not safe. Let's go ahead and take all that tape off and see if we can fix this. So just to make sure I wasn't thinking incorrectly, I grabbed another cable here that's not connected to anything. And so we should be reading a 1. So I think a reading of 500 probably is not good. Well, as I'm working on this power cord, I wanted to get an idea of this 500 measure I'm getting on my continuity. Is this normal? Well, I happen to have another larger Trinitron here, and I've got this one with a cord, and you can see it's got a 512 reading on continuity. So it looks like that 500 reading might actually be normal for these. Okay, so we're operating under the assumption that the 500 reading in continuity mode is normal for the Trinitron. I've got this all back in place. I'm going to leave the back panel off. It's actually still wet from a little quick shower I gave it. But we're going to go ahead and plug this in. Hopefully, sparks don't fly. I'm going to stand back and out of the way just to be sure. But we'll give it the old college try and see what happens. Okay, so I've got you on a fixed stand here. Got our extension cord here. And our quote-unquote fixed power cord here. You can go ahead and plug it in. Alright, so first thing, I see no sparks. I hear no pops, no fizzes. Fingers crossed, this works. We've got energize in the CRT. No pops, no fizzes. We've got a live screen. You can see it's got a refresh rate there. Lean you back. Video 3. So, got a working Trinitron. How cool is that? Alright, we're mobile now. Video 3 input. Just gonna try some channel buttons. There you go. Look at that refresh. No signal. These buttons are a little mashed down here. I do believe I might have a remote for this. Video 2 works. Video 3. Come back to TV. That's 3 to 4. Back to 3. Oh, that's 13. 4. 5. So, gotta say, pretty impressed. Everything works. Let's just take a look at the back here. Here's your live CRT power cord. So the 500 continuity rating apparently is normal. I'm not going to tempt fate here. I'm going to go ahead and turn her off, unplug it. That old CRT pop fizz sound. Very satisfying. But yeah, it appears to be working. The power cord appears to be good. So fingers crossed that everything else is good. Got some imperfections, some goo just to clean off this glass, but I think we've got a nice Trinitron. We'll have to get this hooked up to something and see how the picture looks when it's all back together.